So, Sous Chef have asked me to talk you through a proper bolognese. Now, a ragu alla Bolognese is quite different to what most people think of as a bolognese. For a start, there's no mince. It's made with 5 different meats, as you can see. We've got a bit of steak here. This is actually rump, but you could use ribeye or, whatever, really. A bit of pork loin, 2 cured meats, some prosciutto di Parma, and some pancetta, unsmoked pancetta, essential. At the very end, you then add in some chicken livers, although these are optional. And as far as the tomatoes go, there's not a canned tomato in sight here. It's just a couple of tablespoonfuls of tomato puree, really rich, good Rica tomato puree, the tomato puree that I grew up with. And the cooking fat is butter. To begin, we just need to cut these up into little cubes so that they all cook nice and evenly. It's very important that you keep all the fat on the meat, okay? Don't get rid of anything because it all adds flavour. There's 2 kinds of Italian bacon. One is called pancetta, which comes from the pancia, which is the tummy, from the belly of the pork, and the other kind is called guanciale. Guanciale actually means pillow, but in this case it's the jowl of the pig, so it's from the other end. There are endless arguments in Italy about which one should be used for what recipe and all that sort of thing. But in this case, just go for some pancetta or some good quality bacon if you can't get hold of any good pancetta. I've already prepared my soffritto base. They're all chopped up nice and fine and they all go in together. And I'm going to add the butter. It's about 50 grams of butter at the beginning. You want to bring that to the heat and cook that down, and then as soon as the carrot is tender, because the carrot always takes longer than everything else, we can add in all our first 4 meats, so everything except for the chicken livers. So the soffritto's now properly softened, so in goes all of our meat, all together. Now bring the heat up and you want to just seal this off and you want to get all this fat running. That's really the key. Now the next ingredient is just a little bit of tomato puree, and it really is worth seeking out good tomato puree like the Rica product. I grew up with Rica, so I really do know it's one of the most sweet and intense tasting of the tomato purees. If you've ever been to Sicily, you will have learned something about the importance of the intensity of tomato puree. There they call it strato, and it's sold by weight at market stalls, and it's really exceptional. So this is the sort of Emilia-Romagna next best thing. I've got a little bowl of warm water here, and I'm just going to add what it will be the equivalent of a couple of tablespoons of tomato puree, and then I'm going to stir this really thoroughly to dilute it all together. And this is all the tomato I'm going to use, okay? Perfect. So let's get that poured in there. And it's not going to look particularly red at this point, but I really urge you, don't be tempted to think, oh, that must be a mistake, I must add more tomato puree. You don't. The redness will develop as this cooks over the next couple of hours or so. Once this is cooked, you're going to add in your chicken livers. Now, these are going to need very careful cleaning, all right? Chicken livers, to be honest, are not an expensive ingredient, so you can be quite savage with how you clean them. Best to end up with good flavour and a little bit more waste in this case than spoil the whole ragu because you haven't cleaned them properly. So I'm going to bring the heat right down now to a gentle simmer, and that'll be just right. So after I've added the chicken livers at the very end, the other ingredient I'm going to add is one of my absolute favourite ingredients. This is truffle butter. Have a little jar of this tucked away in your fridge. It's the next best thing to having a fresh truffle to shave on there, which is of course limited by its season apart from anything else. You're going to put a lid on here, just forget about it for a little while. People often ask me if they're allowed to add wine to this. Yes, of course you can. You could add a glass of red wine to this if you wanted to. You could add some stock to it. Keep an eye on it basically to make sure it's not drying out. If it's drying out too much, you need to add some liquid. That can be water, that could be red wine, or it could be stock. But apart from anything else, the only thing you need to do now is to leave it alone to do its thing and then come back to it in a little while with the truffle butter, the cream, which are added after you've added in your chicken liver. So you've got plenty of time now to get those really properly clean. Now that all the meats have cooked down so beautifully, and I've got this gorgeous glossy sauce, the chicken livers. Now, chicken livers don't take very long to cook at all. So while that's happening, I'm going to add in truffle butter. Just going to go with that sort of quantity. Feel free to add more if you wish. And now the cream. This is about 200 ml, I suppose, of cream I've got in here. And I'm just going to let that come back up to the boil, and then I'm going to take it off the heat. This is not going to take longer than a minute or two. I'm just going to give that a quick stir. Just keep it moving, and now it can be moved directly into the pot of the ragu, like this. That looks just so amazing. Make sure that it's really fabulously silky and special. No mince, no canned tomatoes, just 5 beautiful hand-chopped meats. Have some fresh Parmigiano Reggiano, always on the finest possible grater so that it reaches your food as a dust that melts away straight away. So now that is our ragu alla Bolognese with fresh tagliatelle, and all that's left to say really is buon appetito.